The Valoran Galactic Empire had ruled for 12,000 years. They controlled more than 400 star systems. Their ships were huge and powerful. Their weapons could destroy planets. Their science was far ahead of most species. They believed no one could challenge them. One day, a small survey ship found a new blue planet. It was called Earth by the people who lived there. The survey team watched from far away. They saw cities with lights at night. They saw ships that could leave the planet, but not travel between stars very fast. The humans had only just learned how to travel faster than light. To the Valorans, humans looked weak and young. The survey captain sent a report to the Eternal Emperor. The message said, "New species discovered, primitive technology, aggressive behavior in history, strong bodies, can survive hard work in bad places, good for labor in mines and factories, low threat level." The Emperor read the report in his golden throne room. Around him sat the high nobles in shining robes. They laughed when they heard about the humans. "Another small world to add to our collection," one noble said. "They will serve us well." The Emperor raised his hand for silence. His voice was calm, but cold. "We will make them slaves. It is our right. All species must know their place under Valoran rule." A few days later, the decree was sent to every corner of the galaxy. Huge screens on every imperial world showed the Emperor's face. His words were translated into thousands of languages. "By the will of the Eternal Throne," he said, "the species known as humans is now Class 5 servile species. All human planets are claimed by the Empire. All adult humans will be moved to labor colonies. Resistance will be punished by death. This is not cruelty. This is order. This is mercy for a young race." Across the galaxy, alien species watched the broadcast. Some nodded in agreement. Others felt a small fear. They remembered old stories about species that fought back. But no one had beaten the Empire in thousands of years. On Earth, the message arrived at the same time. It came through a subspace channel that humans had only recently built. Every government leader received it at once. The president of the United Earth Council sat in a quiet room with her advisors. They watched the alien emperor speak. His skin was pale blue. His eyes were large and black. He looked down at the camera like a god looking at ants. When the message ended, the room was silent for a long time. The president spoke first. "They think we will bow." An old general answered, "They do not know us." Across the planet, people heard the news. Some were afraid. Many were angry. In factories, workers stopped their machines and listened. In schools, teachers turned off lessons to explain. On streets, crowds gathered and talked in low voices. That night, no one slept well. In a hidden base under the mountains, leaders from every nation met. They had fought each other in the past. Now they stood together. The old flags were put away. One new flag was raised, the blue globe with white stars. The leader of the meeting was a woman named General Aisha Khan. She had gray hair and sharp eyes. She spoke plainly. "They want our bodies for their minds," she said. "They want our children born into chains. They think we are animals. We will show them we are not." A scientist stood up. "We have plans ready, old plans from before we went to the stars, weapons we never wanted to use, ships we can build fast." A young engineer added, "Our factories can change in weeks. We can make drones, we can make bombs, we can make ships that fight." General Khan nodded. "We do not attack first. We wait, we watch, we prepare. When they come for us, we will be ready." Outside, the world began to change quietly. Shipyards that made passenger ships started building warships. Engineers worked day and night. People volunteered for training. Young men and women learned to fight in zero gravity. Old soldiers taught new ones how to survive. Factories in China, India, America, Africa, Europe all worked together. No one argued about borders anymore. The enemy was from the stars. In space, small scout ships watched the Valorant survey vessels. The aliens did not hide. They thought humans were too weak to notice. One Valorant officer laughed on his bridge. "Look at them," he said to his crew. "They send messages of peace. They offer talks. Pathetic." His second officer agreed. "They will line up to board our transports. Easy work for us." They did not know that every word was recorded. Every movement was watched. On Earth, a single message was prepared. It would be sent when the time was right. The message was short. "You asked for slaves. You will get fire." The decree had been sent. The galaxy waited for humans to kneel. But humans did not kneel. They sharpened their knives in the dark. They loaded guns that had not been fired in years. They built engines that could break the speed of light in new ways. They trained their bodies until they bled. They looked at the stars and made a promise. If the Empire wanted slaves, they would find warriors instead. The fury was growing. It was quiet now, but soon it would shake the stars. The 3 months after the decree felt like a long, heavy silence. The galaxy watched Earth. The Valoran Empire waited for humans to line up and accept their new life as slaves. Alien news channels showed pictures of smiling human volunteers walking onto Imperial transports. The Empire praised itself for a peaceful conquest. "See how easily they bend," the commentators said. "No other species gave in so quietly." But on Earth, nothing was quiet inside. The surface looked almost normal. Shops stayed open. Children went to school. People walked in parks. Yet under every city, in every factory, and on every hidden base, the work never stopped. General Aisha Khan stood in the main command center, deep under the Himalayas. Screens covered the walls. They showed live feeds from space telescopes, factory floors, and training camps. She drank black coffee and watched numbers climb. Ship production, up 340%. Weapon output, up 520%. Volunteer numbers, over 8 million in the first month alone. She turned to her chief engineer, Dr. Marcus Hale. He was thin, with tired eyes and oil on his hands. "How long until the first stealth fleet is ready?" she asked. 6 more weeks for the core ships," he said. "But the drones? We can launch swarms in days if needed." We pulled old designs from the asteroid mining program, added military-grade engines. They're small, fast, and cheap to make. Khan nodded. "Good. We don't need pretty. We need deadly." In Shanghai, huge shipyards that once built luxury cruisers now worked around the clock. Cranes lifted giant hull plates. Welders in bright suits sparked through the night. The ships looked strange, ugly, boxy, covered in extra armor and hidden missile bays. Engineers called them coffin ships, because they were built to take hits and keep going. In the American Midwest, old missile silos opened again. New payloads slid inside. Kinetic rods made of dense tungsten. Drop them from orbit at the right speed, and they hit like small meteors. No explosion needed, just pure force. In Russia, teams tested new railguns on frozen tundra. The guns fired metal slugs faster than sound. They punched clean through test armor. In Brazil, jungles hid drone factories. Tiny machines printed more tiny machines. Each one carried a small bomb or a cutting laser. People changed too. Not just soldiers. Everyone. A young mother in Lagos taught her son how to use a breathing mask in vacuum. "If they come for us," she told him, "we fight back." He was only 9. He nodded seriously. An old farmer in Iowa gave his land to a training camp. He watched young recruits run through mud with heavy packs. "I never thought I'd see this again," he said to a friend, "but if it keeps my grandkids free, I'll give everything." In Tokyo, university students built AI cores in secret labs. The old laws had banned true war AIs. Now those laws were gone. The machines learned fast. They planned attacks. They predicted enemy moves. They had no fear. Volunteers came from everywhere. A retired boxer from Mexico City, a nurse from Cairo who knew trauma care, a hacker from Berlin who could break alien encryption, a fisherman from Iceland who knew cold water survival. They all said the same thing when asked why they joined. They want to own us. We say no. The transports kept coming. Every week, Valoran ships entered Earth orbit. They were big, slow, and arrogant. They broadcast messages in calm voices. Step forward for reassignment. Your service honors the Empire. Some humans did board, not many. A few thousand in total. They were not traitors, they were spies. Each one carried hidden weapons, recorders, and suicide charges. They smiled at the alien guards. They waited. One transport took off with 200 volunteers. Inside the hold, restraints clicked open. The humans moved like shadows. They killed the guards in seconds. They took control of the bridge. They sent a single encrypted burst back to Earth. Package delivered. The ship did not go to the labor colony. It turned and jumped toward a Valoran supply depot. When it arrived, it rammed the station at full speed. The explosion lit up sensors across 3 systems. The Empire called it an accident. They were wrong. In the Kuiper Belt, far beyond Pluto, hidden yards hummed. Asteroids had been hollowed out years ago for mining. Now they held warships. Black hulls, no lights, silent engines. Crews lived in the dark, eating rations, training in zero gravity. They called themselves the Ghosts. Captain Elena Ruiz led one such ship, the Silent Thorn. She was 32. She had been a cargo pilot before. Now she flew a killing machine. Her crew was small, 20 people, all volunteers, all ready to die. We wait for the signal, she told them every day. When it comes, we strike hard. No mercy, no retreat. The galaxy saw only compliance. The Empire grew bold. More transports arrived. More decrees came. Earth sector fully integrated by next cycle, the Emperor announced. Nobles toasted with glowing wine. The humans are the perfect slaves, one said. Quiet, obedient, broken already. They did not see the factories burning bright at night. They did not hear the millions training in silence. They did not feel the anger that grew like a storm behind calm faces. On the Imperial Core world, a single human diplomat still lived in the embassy. His name was Ambassador Li Chen. He was old, polite, and soft-spoken. Every day he met with Valoran officials. He smiled. He nodded. He asked gentle questions about culture and law. One evening, after a long dinner, he stood alone on a balcony. The city below sparkled with crystal towers. He took a small device from his pocket. He pressed it once. A message shot out through hidden channels. It reached Earth in minutes. The words were simple. You mistook patience for weakness. Prepare. We are coming. Li Chen walked back inside. He poured himself tea. He waited. The next morning he was gone. No body, no trace. The embassy stood empty. The Valorans searched. They found nothing. They laughed it off. He ran home to his little planet, they said. Coward. They were wrong again. On Earth, General Khan read the message. She closed her eyes for a moment. Then she gave the order. Phase 2 begins. Wake the ghosts. Arm the swarms. Tell every factory, full speed. The transports are coming again soon. This time, they will not leave empty. Across the planet, lights in hidden places burned brighter. Engines tested in silence. Guns clicked into ready position. Hearts beat faster. The quiet was ending. The fury was waking. The stars would soon learn why humans were never meant to be slaves. The first Valoran slave transports arrived in Earth orbit, like kings coming to collect tribute. They were massive cylinders, painted in gold and deep purple, the colors of imperial glory. Each one could hold 50,000 humans in cryosleep pods. The ships broadcast the same calm message again and again. Prepare for boarding. Your service begins now. The Empire welcomes its new workers. On the bridge of the lead ship, Emperor's Grace, Captain Vorak leaned back in his command chair. He was tall, with smooth blue skin and a crest of silver spines on his head. He watched the human planet below through the main viewer. "They are quiet," he said to his first officer. "No protests, no fleets, just waiting. It is almost disappointing." The first officer nodded. They know their place. Docking clamps extended. Shuttles ferried down to collect the waiting crowds. The humans had built long lines at the landing fields. They wore simple clothes. Many carried small bags. They looked tired, obedient. The first shuttle landed. Doors hissed open. Valoran guards in heavy armor stepped out. They carried stun batons and energy rifles. They expected bows. They expected fear. Instead, the front row of humans dropped their bags. Inside were rifles, grenades, and cutting tools. The guards had 1 second to look surprised. Then the shooting started. The volunteers moved like they had practiced it 1,000 times. They rushed forward in tight groups. Bullets punched through armor joints. Explosives tore open shuttle doors. Guards fell screaming. The humans did not shout battle cries. They worked in silence, fast and cold. On the Emperor's Grace, alarms screamed. Captain Vorak stood up. "What is happening?" Reports flooded in. Every transport reported the same thing. Boarders, humans, armed, killing. In the hold of one transport, 200 humans shed their fake restraints. They had worn thin plastic cuffs that broke easily. Now they pulled out hidden weapons. A woman named Sergeant Reyes led them. She was short, with scars on her arms from old fights. "No prisoners," she said quietly. "Take the bridge, then blow the engines." They moved through corridors like wolves. Alien crew tried to fight back. They died fast. Humans knew the ship layout. They had studied stolen blueprints for months. They reached the bridge in minutes. Reyes shot the captain in the head. Then she sent the signal. Back on Earth, General Khan watched the feeds. She saw flashes of light in orbit. Explosions. "Phase 3, she said. "Go." From the dark side of the moon, hidden fleets woke up. They were not beautiful ships. They were ugly, patched-together hulks. Freighters with added guns. Mining rigs turned into rams. Passenger liners packed with missiles. They jumped out of hiding, using new, unstable drives that left radiation trails. The drives were dangerous. Many crews would die from the radiation later. They did not care. The human ships appeared around 17 major Imperial slave depots. These were huge stations in deep space, places where workers were sorted and sent to mines. The stations had weak defenses. No one expected attack from primitives. The humans did not ask for surrender. They attacked. A ship called Fury's Edge rammed the main docking arm of Depot Alpha 9. The impact tore metal like paper. Atmosphere vented. Bodies floated out. Human boarding teams followed in small pods. They cut through hulls with plasma torches. Inside, they found chained aliens of other species who had been slaves for years. The humans cut the chains. "Fight with us or hide," they said. Most fought. In another depot, swarms of drones arrived first. Thousands of small machines, each the size of a dog. They carried tiny bombs and lasers. They flew into hangars, engine ports, control rooms. Explosions rippled across the station like firecrackers. The depot broke apart in slow motion. Reports reached the Imperial Court. Nobles stared at screens in shock. How? One asked. They had no fleet. The Emperor sat silent. His fingers tapped the arm of his throne. More news came. Human ships were hitting supply lines. Jump inhibitors, small black spheres, appeared in hyperspace lanes. Imperial ships tried to jump and slammed into invisible walls. They tore apart. Crews died in twisted metal. On one frontier world, a Valoran battle group waited for reinforcements. They never came. Instead, a single human dreadnought dropped out of jump. It was called Indomitable. It looked old, scarred, rebuilt many times. Its captain was a man named Jonah Kane. He had lost his family in the first transports. He gave no speeches. The Indomitable charged straight at the Imperial flagship. Valoran guns fired. Shields flared. The human ship kept coming. At the last second, it twisted and rammed the enemy's engine core. The explosion was bright enough to see from the planet below. 3 Imperial cruisers died in the blast. The rest scattered. Panic started in the core worlds. Rich nobles who had cheered the decree now locked their doors. They sent messages to the Emperor. "Send more ships. Protect us." The Emperor ordered the Grand Fleet to mobilize. Thousands of warships began to move. They were slow. They were proud. They thought numbers would win. They were wrong. On a pleasure moon called Elisara, human special teams landed in secret. They wore black suits that bent light. They moved through gardens and palaces like ghosts. Guards died quietly, throats cut, necks snapped. Nobles woke to find knives at their throats. "You wanted slaves," one human whispered. "Now you get justice." Some nobles begged. Some fought. None survived. Back in orbit around Earth, the remaining Valoran transports tried to flee. They were too slow. Human fighters swarmed them. Small, fast ships with 1 pilot each. The pilots were young, some only 18. They flew straight into enemy fire. They died smiling. One transport exploded in a fireball that lit the night sky over Asia. People on the ground watched. They cheered, not with joy, with relief. The fear was turning into something harder. General Khan stood on a balcony under the stars. She held a cup of tea. It had gone cold. She looked at the reports. 17 depots destroyed. Thousands of Imperial crew dead. Human losses high, but acceptable. She spoke into her comm. "Tell the ghosts. Next target is the supply hub at Kalis Prime. Hit it hard, then vanish." Captain Elena Ruiz on the Silent Thorn received the order. She smiled for the first time in months. "You heard it," she told her crew. "Time to make them bleed." The ship jumped. In the Imperial Palace, the Emperor watched the same feeds. His court was silent. For the first time in 12,000 years, fear entered the throne room. The slaves had not knelt. They had risen, and the galaxy was starting to burn. The war no longer hid in shadows. Earth's fury poured out like a broken dam. Human fleets struck everywhere at once. They did not fight like the Empire expected. The Valorans used grand formations, slow advances, and heavy firepower. Humans used speed, tricks, and no fear of death. General Aisha Khan stood in the command center. Maps of the galaxy glowed on every wall. Red dots showed Imperial strongholds. Blue dots showed human attacks. More blue dots appeared every hour. She pointed to a cluster near the galactic core. "Kalis Prime," she said. "Their main supply hub. Take it, and half their fleet starves." Captain Elena Ruiz and the Silent Thorn were already there. The ship hid in the radiation cloud of a dead star. Her crew watched the massive Imperial station turn slowly. It looked like a metal city in space. Thousands of cargo ships docked. Fuel lines pumped. Guards patrolled. Launch the swarm. Hundreds of small drones poured out. Each one was black and silent. They flew in patterns that confused sensors. Some carried bombs. Some carried hacking tools. Some carried nothing but sharp blades on spinning arms. They hit the station from every side. Alarms screamed inside Kalis Prime. Valoron technicians ran to consoles. Too late. Drones cut power lines. Others drilled into hulls. Explosions bloomed like flowers. A fuel depot went up first. Fire spread fast. The station tilted. Cargo ships tried to flee. Human fighters waited in the dark. They picked them off one by one. The hub burned for 3 days. When it died, the Empire lost food, parts, and fuel for 50 battle groups. Panic spread through Imperial command. On Earth, factories worked faster than ever. New ships rolled out every day. Some were small and fast. Others were huge and ugly, packed with guns. Crews trained in simulators until their eyes bled. They learned alien weak points from captured data. Valoran ships had thin armor near engines. Life support was easy to poison. Bridges had big windows, perfect for snipers. Human special teams went deeper. They called themselves Reapers. Small groups of 6 or 8. They landed on pleasure worlds where nobles relaxed. These worlds had no defenses. Only guards who carried fancy weapons, but no real fight in them. On the world called Lurana, a team slipped through palm gardens at night. They wore suits that matched the shadows. They entered a palace through a service door. Inside, music played. Laughter filled the air. Nobles in silk robes drank glowing drinks. They talked about human slaves like pets. The Reapers moved room to room. Guards died quietly. One noble woke to a knife at his throat. The human above him was calm. "You said we were animals," the Reaper said. "Now feel what animals do." The noble begged. He offered gold, power, mercy. The Reaper shook his head. "We don't want your mercy. We want you gone." By morning, the palace was silent. Bodies lay in pools of color. The team left no trace except a message carved on the wall. "Slavers burn." Word spread. Nobles stopped sleeping. They hired more guards. They built bunkers. It did not help. Reapers found ways in. Air vents, hidden tunnels. Even noble children's toys carried poison darts. In space, the worst began. Human ships used a new weapon. They dropped kinetic rods from high orbit. Long metal spears. No explosives, just speed and mass. They fell silent until they hit. Then planets shook. Shipyards cracked open. Cities turned to dust. One rod hit the Imperial shipyard at Vorath. 1,000,000 workers died in seconds. The yard built supercarriers. Now it was slag. The Emperor sent his grand fleet. 10,000 ships, the largest force in history. They moved toward human space like a storm cloud. Commanders boasted, "We will crush them in one battle." They met the humans at the edge of the Orion Arm. The battle lasted 4 days. Human ships danced around the Imperial line. They used jump drives in ways no one thought possible. Short jumps, in and out, hit and run. They targeted engines first, then weapons, then bridges. One human dreadnought, the Indomitable, charged straight at an Imperial supercarrier. Guns from both sides fired. Shields flashed. The Indomitable kept coming. Its captain, Jonah Kane, spoke over open channel. "You wanted slaves. Here is your payment." The dreadnought hit at full speed. The supercarrier folded like paper. Secondary explosions took 3 nearby cruisers. The blast wave destroyed a moon base. Debris rained on the planet below for weeks. The Grand Fleet broke. Ships fled in every direction. Some jumped blind and never came back. Others surrendered. Their crews begged on open channels. They boarded. They took the ships. They sent the crews to empty asteroids with enough air for a week. "Tell your Emperor," the humans said. "Next time, we come for him." Engineered viruses spread through Imperial worlds. Humans had made them in secret labs. The virus hurt only Valoran biology. It caused fever, blindness, then death. It traveled in air systems, water, food. Whole cities fell quiet. Hospitals overflowed. Doctors died too. On the core worlds, riots started. Slave species saw their chance. They rose up. They killed guards. They took weapons. The Empire fought its own people now. The Emperor sat alone in his throne room. Screens showed burning worlds. Advisors were gone, some dead, some fled. He stared at the blue dot of Earth on the map. How, he whispered. They were nothing. A final report came. Human fleets massed near the core. They carried enough rods to crack the throne world itself. The Emperor stood. For the first time, he felt small. On Earth, General Khan watched the same map. Blue dots covered half the galaxy now. She turned to her officers. "Prepare the final push," she said. "We end this where it began." Factories roared. Ships launched. Volunteers said goodbye to families. They knew many would not return. They went anyway. The fury had no limits now. It crossed stars. It broke empires. And it was coming for the throne. The human fleets gathered like a dark cloud over the Imperial core. Thousands of ships, old and new, patched and deadly. They came from every corner of human space. Some bore scars from 100 battles. Others were fresh from hidden yards, engines still hot from first burn. No flags flew high, no speeches echoed across channels. The crews knew why they were here. General Aisha Khan watched from the bridge of the Resolute, the new flagship. It was not pretty. Thick armor plates covered every weak spot. Guns pointed in every direction. The ship smelled of oil and sweat. Khan stood with her hands behind her back. Her face showed no smile, only calm. "Final approach," she said. "No retreat, no mercy. We finish this." The throne world of Valora Prime hung below them. It was beautiful once. Golden cities, crystal spires, oceans of deep purple. Now smoke rose from many places. Riots had torn streets apart. Slave uprisings burned palaces. The Empire's own people turned against it. The Imperial Grand Fleet tried one last stand. What remained, 5,000 ships, formed a wall around the planet. They fired everything they had. Lasers lit space like fireworks. Missiles streaked in long lines. Humans answered with silence at first. Then the kinetic rods fell. Long metal spears dropped from stealth platforms high above. They moved faster than sound. No warning, no explosion at launch, just gravity and speed. The first wave hit the Imperial line. Shields flared and died. Ships cracked open like eggs. Crews vented into vacuum. Whole squadrons vanished in seconds. The Indomitable led the charge again. Captain Jonah Kane stood on the bridge. His hands gripped the rail. He had not slept in days. "Full burn," he ordered. "Straight through." The dreadnought rammed the center of the Imperial formation. Guns roared. Engines screamed. It tore through 3 cruisers before it stopped. The impact sent shockwaves that crippled nearby ships. Kane's voice came over the open channel one last time. "For every human taken, for every chain broken." Then the Indomitable exploded. A bright star, born and died in moments. The blast cleared a path. Human Marines launched in thousands of pods. Small black cylinders. They hit the atmosphere like meteors. Heat shields glowed red. Parachutes opened low. Pods crashed into gardens, rooftops, streets. Doors blew open. Marines poured out in black armor. They carried rifles, grenades, and knives. They moved fast. No hesitation. They knew the palace layout from stolen maps. They fought through guards, who still wore shining armor. The guards were brave. They died anyway. Reaper teams slipped ahead. They cut power to whole districts. They poisoned air recyclers. They set charges on support pillars. Buildings groaned and fell in slow clouds of dust. Inside the Eternal Palace, the Emperor waited. His throne room was empty now. Guards had fled. Advisors were dead or gone. He sat alone. His robes looked too big on him. His crest of silver spines drooped. A door opened. Human Marines entered. Their leader was a woman named Colonel Mara Voss. She was tall, with short hair and a scar across her cheek. She walked forward. Her rifle stayed low, but ready. The Emperor looked up. His voice was weak. "You have won your freedom. Take what you want. Leave my world. I offer terms, vassal status, trade rights. You can rule your sector." Mara stopped in front of him. She looked down. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then she laughed. It was not loud. It was cold. "You decreed us slaves," she said. "You sent ships to take our people. You called it mercy. You called us animals." She stepped closer. "We decree you extinct." The Emperor's eyes widened. He opened his mouth to speak. A single shot rang out. His body hit the golden floor with a soft sound. Mara turned to her team. "Secure the room. Plant the charges. We leave nothing." Outside, the battle ended fast. Imperial ships surrendered or burned. Human drones hunted the last ones. Orbital platforms fell silent. The crystal spires cracked under rod strikes. The throne world became a graveyard. When the fighting stopped, humans did not loot. They did not stay. They gathered their dead. They loaded wounded onto ships. They left the planet broken but alive, for the survivors. The Empire collapsed overnight. Worlds declared freedom. Old slave species took control of their stars. Some cheered humans as liberators. Others feared them. All whispered the same name: human wrath. Earth did not claim the throne. No emperor rose from the blue world. Instead, a single broadcast went out across every channel, every language, every frequency. A woman's voice spoke. It was General Khan. "We did not want this war. You forced it. You saw weakness. You saw slaves. You were wrong. Leave us alone. Do not come to our system. Do not send ships. Do not speak of chains. Or we will remind you why no one has ever enslaved humanity. We do not conquer. We protect. And we remember." The message ended. Silence followed. Across the galaxy, ships turned away from human space. Fleets changed course. Diplomats canceled visits. Trade stopped. The stars grew quiet around Earth. On the surface, people returned to normal life. Children played in parks. Factories built civilian ships again. Families ate dinner together. But something had changed. Eyes looked up at the night sky more often. Hands stayed near weapons. Hearts carried a hard edge. In hidden bases, plans stayed ready. Old projects waited in case the day came again. General Khan stood on a hill outside the command center. She watched the stars. Wind moved her gray hair. A young officer approached. "Ma'am, reports confirm. No Imperial signals left. The core is dark." Khan nodded slowly. "Good." She looked back at the sky. "They will not forget us," she said quietly, "and we will not forget them." Far away, on a new colony world, a child asked his father, "Why do people fear us now?" The father looked at the stars too. "Because," he said, "we are not what they thought. We are not weak. We are not slaves. We are human. And when pushed far enough, we become the storm." The galaxy listened to the silence from one small blue world, and for the first time in 12,000 years, it feared that silence.